How the hell could you make that kind of money? Lester's voice sliced through the marble air of the Los Angeles courthouse. His smirk was sharp enough to cut glass. I stood there, clutching the company's latest financial report, proof of everything I had built, alone. For a moment, the hall went silent. And in that silence, I felt something unfamiliar: peace. Growing up, I was always the other son. My parents worshipped Lester. When he played piano at 5, they clapped until their hands were red. When I finished my homework at 6, they barely looked up. On my birthdays, the candles always burned out before anyone remembered. But Lester? Every little success, a soccer trophy, a music recital, brought applause, gifts, celebration. I learned early. In this family, love had a price tag. Years later, when I started my own tech company, my parents never asked how I was doing. Not once. But they never missed a chance to brag about Lester's promising little investments. Now that my company had passed $1 billion valuation, suddenly, they noticed me. Suddenly, Lester was calling again, pretending to care, while really just circling like a vulture. I looked at him coldly. "You think I need your help now?" He chuckled, masking the irritation behind fake charm. "Come on, Ethan. Family helps each other. That's how it's supposed to be." I met his gaze. "Family? You disappeared for over a decade. Don't talk to me about family now. It's too late." A few days later, Lester invited me to dinner downtown. The restaurant had floor-to-ceiling windows, with the sunset painting his face gold, the perfect lighting for someone who lived off illusions. He smiled, swirling his wine. "Ethan, we've been following your company. If you're open to it, we could partner up, take it global." I stared at him, amused. 10 years ago, I was writing business plans in a tiny apartment, barely affording rent. Meanwhile, my parents and Lester were sipping wine in their living room, celebrating his latest investment. I took a slow sip of wine. "You really think I need your help now?" He froze for a second, then forced a laugh. "You're too sensitive. It's just family support." My mother chimed in softly, her tone coated with guilt and manipulation. "Ethan, sweetheart, listen to your brother. He has experience. You could learn from him." I tapped my finger on the table, smiling thinly. "The only thing I learned from this family is that love depends on who makes more money." The air thickened. Lester clenched his jaw. My father looked away. And in that silence, I made a quiet vow. They would all regret underestimating me. Their favoritism was never subtle. When Lester won a piano contest, the house filled with balloons and cake. When I won a regional science fair, my father just said, "That's nice," and turned back to the TV. Years later, my parents would still call me just to ask, "Ethan, when will you ever be as successful as your brother?" They never noticed when I stopped answering their calls. Now, after all these years, they were suddenly interested again. My father called one night, voice full of fake warmth. "You and Lester could do great things together. Think of it. Family business, global expansion." I almost laughed. They didn't want partnership, they wanted profit. "You were never there for me," I said quietly. "Now you just want a piece of what I built." The line went silent for a moment before my father snapped, "You don't understand family loyalty." "Loyalty?" I whispered. "You don't earn loyalty by ignoring someone for half a lifetime." I hung up, staring out at the glittering Los Angeles skyline. That night, I made a promise. They would finally see what it feels like to be invisible. I started digging. Emails, bank transfers, confidential memos. Soon, I found what I expected. Lester and my parents had been manipulating internal accounts, even forging documents to seize control of my company. So I built my own case brick by brick. Lawyers, auditors, digital trails. Every file, every timestamp, a weapon in waiting. One night, Lester showed up at my office, carrying 2 coffees like it was a peace offering. "What are you up to, Ethan?" he asked casually. I didn't even look up. "Protecting what's mine." He hesitated. "You're not trying to hurt us, are you?" I smiled. "No, Lester. I'm just making sure you can never hurt me again." His smile vanished. For the first time in our lives, he realized his little brother was no longer the weak one. The shareholders' hall glittered under the lights. Cameras flashed. Investors murmured. I stood at the podium, dark suit pressed, every word rehearsed to precision. Lester, my parents, first row, pretending to be calm. I looked straight at them. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out what you've been doing behind my back?" The crowd hushed. I held up a folder thick with evidence. Emails, bank transfers, forged contracts. Every move you made to steal my company. Documented. Gasps rippled through the room as I projected screenshots on the big screen. Every transaction, every signature. My father's voice trembled. "Ethan, this isn't necessary. We were only thinking of the family." "Family?" I cut him off. "For 15 years you treated me like a stranger. And now you use that word to excuse your greed." Lester stammered. "I just wanted to help you grow the business." "Help?" I laughed coldly. "You wanted to own me, but guess what, you can't." My lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Cole's actions have been fully compliant with the law. The defendant's actions, however, constitute multiple breaches of corporate and legal conduct." Silence. Then, murmurs, cameras flashing, reporters scribbling furiously. My parents sat frozen, realizing the game was over. For the first time, I felt something that wasn't anger, closure. Weeks later, the verdict came down. They lost everything, their positions, their shares, their power. When the judge read the ruling, Lester exploded. "This is unfair." I turned to him, calm. "Unfair? Try growing up being invisible in your own family." My parents didn't speak. They couldn't. As I walked out of the courthouse, the sunlight hit my face. Warm, clean, final. Back at my office, I stood before the glass window, the LA skyline glowing beneath me. For the first time, I whispered, "I'm free." Months later, our new product launch shook the entire tech market. Investors cheered, the press called it a revolution. On stage, I stood tall, not just as a CEO, but as the man who reclaimed his name, his dignity, his life. That night, I walked to the rooftop terrace alone. The city lights pulsed below, the ocean breeze brushing my face. "I won," I said softly, smiling at the reflection in the glass. "No one controls my life anymore. Family by blood, strangers by choice. They once owned my silence, now I own my story."